Awesome. Well, everyone awake? They had a little caffeine, right? Got a cookie. We're like ready for the rest of the day, right? So I was going to put the wireless mic on, and then I decided if I stand here, I don't have to suck in my cookie that I just ate. So I'm going to stand right here and not suck it in. So thanks. We're going to talk about the next normal and the digital transformation imperative. I would like to continue the conversation with you after today. So if you want to connect on LinkedIn, put your phone up and take a little picture of that QR code. We can connect. We can talk about association trends. We can talk about challenges that you're facing. Or you want to talk about 90s music? I'm here for it all day, any genre. You know, best decade for grunge and hip hop and pop. We got Britney Spears, Nirvana, and Biggie. Like, what else could there, other decade could there be, right? It's the best one. So here for it, or true crime. True crime's another good one. So digital transformation. Good God, how long have we been talking about this, right? Well, if you would really like to know, I did Google it. We've been talking about it since about 2013 was when the term really became popular. And pre-pandemic, we knew that digital transformation was important, right? We all knew it, but pandemic made it accelerate, right? It really brought out even the more importance of digital transformation as it really forced all consumers and businesses to go digital. We have the work from home anywhere, most people do, right? Peloton took over the world. I jumped on that bandwagon hardcore. And who's ever going back to the grocery store? Because I'm not, like, totally not going back to the grocery store. So we know that the pandemic hugely accelerated digital transformation. I think McKinsey said in 2020, we advanced 5 years in just 5 months. And the speed of that acceleration continues, right? So we had our old normal where, you know, we used to do things and go outside and nobody wore a mask. Then we had our COVID-19 normal where we did everything virtual and we never left our house. Probably most people didn't put on real pants. And we have this next normal that's coming. We're still kind of defining it. We're not quite there. We're kind of somewhere right there. We're like so close to the next normal, but we're just not there yet. We're still defining like what's a hybrid event? What does that mean for my association and my members? How do we continue to deliver value digitally? So we know that digital transformation is going to continue to accelerate, and it can no longer be a slow adoption for associations. So digital transformation is imperative as we go into this next normal. And so when we think about it, you know, what are those digital strategies that are going to help us deepen relationships with our members, our customers, our partners? What strategies are going to help us make faster and smarter decisions? How are we going to evolve to serve a new wave of member expectations? Not only are members who have, you know, been totally digital the last year, and now we're going to kind of waver and do we go in person? Do we go virtual? But we also have Gen Z coming up, right? They're your student members. They're some of your early careerists right now too. So that new wave of member expectations. So we can no longer choose to be slow in our digital transformation. It is imperative for the future. And when we think digital transformation, I know a lot of people think, oh my God, it's got to be this like massive project and it's so big and I don't even want to think about it. But it can be small and it can serve a very specific purpose. So we are going to go on a speed date of 2 community brands customers and kind of some digital transformation imperative solutions that they did. Now, I have been part of community brands for a few years, and my thought was everybody knows who Community Brands is because we have 20 gazillion products. But actually, two people at lunch told me they didn't know who Community Brands was, so I feel like I need to say this. We're a technology provider, and we provide just about everything an association needs: AMS, LMS, Career Center, Event Tech, and data analytics. So we're going to, like I said, do a little speed date of two organizations. So first, we have Marine Corps. And so they had a problem that everybody has, right? Member retention. Why don't members just renew every year like we need them to, right? So they had 1,000 lapsed members every month that they were seeing. So the Marine Corps, they were one of those organizations at the top left. 76% of associations that have an AMS or a CRM. And so they actually use one of our products called Nimble AMS, which is built on the Salesforce platform. So they actually have the benefit of having an AMS and a CRM. Now, if you look at the bottom right over there, 4% of associations currently use artificial intelligence. You're like, 4%? Wow, that's really little. That's actually doubled in size since 2019. So we're seeing some slow adoption there. But this group decided that they were going to be part of the 4% and utilize artificial intelligence for their digital imperative solution. So they used AI to increase member retention with predictive analytics. Now, I said that Nimble was built on Salesforce, so they were able to utilize Salesforce Einstein, which Salesforce introduced a few years ago, for AI, so they didn't have to go out and find another product. It was built into one that they were already using, and they did some point and click AI. So a quick down and dirty of their process of kind of what they did was they defined the problem, right? Member retention. There's 1,000 people leaving every single month. They did a little review of their data. Do we have the historical data that can actually predict future behavior? And then they decided, what's our goal? What's the outcome that we're really looking for with this solution? They then built their prediction model. So they used Einstein Prediction Builder. They had a little scorecard analysis. Is our data good? Is our prediction good? Or is it too good to be true? And then they did a little sniff test. Hey, are these results kind of like what we should be getting? Then they operationalized it. What are the calls to action if somebody's at risk of lapsing? They rolled it out to their staff. And then, of course, they had staff training, which they did before the rollout, which makes sense, right? And then the last piece is they refined. They started small, they learned, they adapted, and they measured their results. So like I said, they used Einstein, and this is not their scorecard, but I wanted to show this image because they could see, was our data actually too good? Was it like, no, something's wrong because your prediction's too high? So they could see if it was good, if it was in the yellow, like, hey, this isn't real good, or if it was even too high, which theirs was all good. And then they made a warning sign. So how does staff know that someone's at risk? So you see the little guy to the right. I don't want to say he's a smiley face, but he's like, boo! Right? Like, oh my goodness, something's wrong. So super easy for staff to see that a member is at risk of lapsing. So then they go to that person's name, and there are it's an action card with telling staff, hey, here's what you should do because this person's at risk of lapsing. And they decided that they really wanted to personalize the experience. So they had a very high touch campaign. Individuals over 40, someone picked up the phone and called them. Hi, how's it going? And if they were under 40, They got a personalized email. Hi. And then if someone was all digital, they got something totally different. Now we're working with another organization right now, and they're automating this process. So it doesn't have to be hugely high touch, but you can be very high touch, which they did to really personalize that experience. Then they were given a dashboard summary so they could see who's at critical risk, how many are super high, and then what they really wanted to see, that big number of who was actually low risk. So what happened? So they had those 1,000 members that were lapsing every month. They retained 25% of them. That's 250 members per month that they saved by reaching out with a personalized, hey, please don't lapse. So if you don't know the math in your head, 250 times 12 is 3,000 members a year that they saved. Now, they also ended up reducing their dues processing time and reporting time in half, cut it in half. Was by no means a goal of theirs, but it was kind of the cherry on top of their program. So again, just an example of doing a digital transformation imperative that started small with one problem. They were just trying to address one problem. They weren't going to use, AI for 25 different things. They started with one problem. And they are now set up for future success because they have done this digital transformation. So our second speed date here, ACOG. They had so much data, right? They had a system over here and a system over here and a system over here, and everything had all this data in it, but there was no 360-degree view of members. So like many organizations, this is actually from Community Brands Association Trends 2021 study, only about a third of association professionals say that their data is very good or excellent. And the number one challenge of reporting and data analytics is joining member data from various resources together to paint a clear picture of members. So based on these numbers, I'm going to assume most of you are in this same boat, right? You can feel this pain that they experienced. So their digital imperative solution was a data analytics tool that everybody in the org could use. So they had siloed data, right? They had it over here and here and here and all these different systems. They were dealing with rapid change, not only in their organization, but all the outside environmental things as well. They had no data analytics tools. So by having no tool, they ultimately had legacy tools, right? They didn't have a tool to help them. And then they didn't have really a skill set that people could help. So all like ad hoc reporting requests, anybody who needed data, they actually had to put a request into IT for someone to do it. So that was kind of the world they were living in. And so what they do for their digital transformation process, they identified the issue, right? They did a data maturity analysis, and they defined a goal. They said, where are we today with our data maturity, and where do we want to go, and where do we want to be? So they defined that goal. Then they did a little data analysis. They did some standard definitions. They found that the definition of something in this system might not exactly match its definition over here. And then they had this, wanted to make sure everybody on the team was using the same terminology when they were talking about the same thing. And then they had to refine their business practices and their business processes. Then they operationalized it. They did a staff training. They rolled the tool out for folks. And then they continued to refine. They learn, adapt, add more data sets, and add more analytics that they're reviewing. And then they've also developed a data governance team to help them continue to move forward on their data analytics journey. So they have a complex membership model, like very many medical associations do. And so in order to kind of see who's renewed, who's not renewed, they had to change their terminology, because they would terminate a member, but then bring them back in a different category. But that's not the same as when a member is actually not renewed. So they had to make that definition so they could actually get an output of data, right? So that it was clear and concise of what they were getting out. And then they were able to put the tools in the hands of people who actually wanted the data. So, Sally over here wanted to see something by how long people have been a member. Howard over here wants to see it by region and where they are. So they could do those filters and they could get the report and they could see some data visualization on their own, and they didn't have to put in a request to IT. And so I know anyone who's in IT right now is like, yes, please stop those requests. So really what they ended up with was a few different results. So they had faster time to value. So there's no one waiting around for whatever ad hoc report they need or what they wanted to see. Staff could immediately see what they wanted. They were able to innovate more. So their IT team and their business analysts were able to really spend more time on identifying opportunities and diving into the insights and the trends, and not dealing with a whole bunch of ad hoc requests. And then it really broke down silos across the org and created that 360-degree view of members across the business. And then they had trusted data. So since they actually had data that they trusted, in 2020, when they were seeing a decline in membership because medical professionals had way better things to worry about than renewing their membership, right? They were able to reach out to those about to lapse or those who had lapsed with personalized campaigns and personalized information to get them to renew. And then their leadership had, snapshots of data, they had trends data, they could actually had data that they trusted to make an accurate 2021 forecast. So, after we went through 2020, forecasting 2021 was hard, right? Like, what about events? What about non-dues revenue? What about dues revenue? But they actually felt super confident in their 2021 forecast because they had this trusted data. So that was our quick speed dating of two organizations, two totally different problems, but really digital transformation that is preparing them for the next normal. And when we get to the next normal, what was once visionary is now mandatory. So think about what strategies you have moving forward. What strategies are you involving for your digital transformation imperative? And that's it. Any questions? I feel like I just said a lot of information at y'all.
Yeah, Terry, there's a couple of questions here. So for some organizations, they may think AI is daunting. So how can associations assess their appetite for using such a tool?
So I think, one of the biggest things when it comes to AI is, as much as we've talked about it, as much of it is part of our daily lives every day, it's still like, ooh, that's a lot to handle, right? So really, when we talk to clients about implementing AI, it's really about taking one problem. Don't try to solve everything. What's your issue? Is it that your member services team is inundated with the same questions over and over? Can a chat bot help with that? Or is it that You need to increase your certification revenue, and you need to know predict who's the right candidate that hasn't signed up yet. So how can you increase your revenue there? Or maybe it's a member lapse issue and you want to predict who that is. So just choose one problem and start small, and then refine it, learn, adapt, and keep going from there. And then you can add your second or your third or your fifth thing that you're doing.
Okay, great. Another one is in this next normal, what technology is non-negotiable?
So as we go to the next normal, what is non-negotiable? It is, I think we're going to see a huge increase in hyper-automation. How much can we automate? We need as much automated as possible. Artificial intelligence is no longer a nice to have. You need to use it for your organization. And anything that can help you provide better member service. So that is going to be, maybe it is a live agent chat, maybe it's a chat bot. And then the last two, because I want to put everything on one hand, is data analytics. We have tons of data. How are we using it? We have to be able to use it more. And the cloud. I feel like the cloud's been something we've been talking about for a real long time, but there's still a lot of people not there. And so cloud is super important and non-negotiable in the next normal. And I can't read your name tag from there. I apologize.
That's okay. I was just waiting for Kevin to stop talking.
Okay.
So the Einstein predictive model, looking at it online, it looks like it's only available for Salesforce customers like your Nimble product. Are any of your other community brands, AMS, able to take advantage of the Einstein predictive model platform?
So Einstein is part of Salesforce products. So you do have to have Salesforce to use that particular AI.
So you're going to upgrade now, Ron?
We would love to talk to you about it. I'm sure.
All right.